Welcome to the Sid City Social Club for Friday, August 21st.
Thank you, Mel. Hi, guys. Hello. Tuesday, I brought up the fact that it was centenary of white women getting the vote in America. So if that interests you, it's a subject for the week. Just fascinated by the fact that we've got a lot of youngsters here as well as old people like myself. And the old people don't even remember this, so it's hard for us to imagine what it would be like not to have a vote. And as voting is such a big thing right now all over the world, I mean, everybody seems to be having kind of talks about voting and how important it is. I've just been asked recently to do an interview about voting, talking about voting, for someone who's trying to get voting, people in the Star Trek world voting. That's a big umbrella subject if you're interested. If you're not, don't worry about it, just dodge it, move on, talk about something you like. So I'd love to talk to Nazia because she's calling us all the way from Belarus. How are you, Nazia?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. It's
Okay.
really good to see you again.
So, what should I begin with? The artwork or with the topic?
So let's talk about your cross-stitching, because that's fun.
Yes. I wonder, will you recognize yourself today? Because it is cross-stitch of you again.
Oh, goodness.
Maybe you should put your glasses on?
I think I might have to. Because this stops me reading the chat, so I can't see the chat.
Okay, so here.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yes, I think so too.
Oh, good gracious me, that's just like a photograph.
Yeah.
Wow. That is astonishing. You know where I was? I even know where I was when that photo was, the first photo of that. It's just, by the way, that is beautiful. Mm-hmm. I was in Berlin at the Berlin Film Festival, and we were promoting Syriana. Everybody gave me such a hard time for wearing that sweater. But hey, that's what I did. Thank you. That is absolutely gorgeous. It really is astonishing. I mean, that is work of the first order, the highest quality. Amazing. Really amazing. Gosh.
But an interesting fact, because I put a frame and a special glass, so when I got it to the workshop, so I think that the shop assistant thought that it was a member of my family.
That's very funny.
I don't know, because this woman was all the time like, he will like it, the frame will be good, he will like it. Don't worry.
Well, I do. You can go tell her I like it.
Okay, I will do it maybe tomorrow, yeah.
Well, listen, you brightened my day by showing me that beautiful piece of art. Really, and I don't even like looking at things of myself. So that is still beautiful. Really, really beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Nazia, and thank you for sharing your cross stitch. That is stunning.
Crazy.
I'm literally stunned. Okay, we're going to go to Colin.
Hello. Hi. Thank you, Mel.
Colin.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Sid.
Where are you? It looks light.
Oh no, that's just I got one of those webcams with the light thing on it.
With the thing.
The sun is just setting. So I'm in England.
Europe.
Reading. And when I moved in last year, and there's this massive white building next to it, and I hadn't looked into it at all. And I asked some people, "What's this massive white building?" And they said, "Oh, that's the film studio. We've got the Witcher filming next door."
Is it brand new?
I think it's been there a couple of years because Will Smith did Aladdin, and someone saw him in the gym in Bracknell and was.
I know a lot of the work is moving over to the UK now. I've just
it's good.
Yeah, it's good for the UK. It's terrible for American.
We bumped into each other once, very long time ago.
I do recognise you. That's what's
kidding.
Weird. So where did we bump into each other?
It was in Soho. It was spring 2007, and I was working in Margaret Street, and I was just doing my thing of just popping out for lunch for a sandwich, and you were coming towards me. I completely bottled it and just said, "Oh, I love you. You're in Star Trek." So very nice to meet you then, and I just wanted to follow up because you were ever so nice. So it made my day, and it's so great to see you. This incredible forum you're running. I just don't know of anyone else that does something like this, and it's really made my lockdown, I would say. So
I'm really glad. I don't know why lots of people aren't doing it. I mean, you'd think that everybody would do it, because it's one way of just gathering up everybody and putting them all together in even little satellite Zooms.
Yeah. I've been to a few. I've been to the last
good.
month or so, and it's been such a hoot. So.
Cool, thank you. What are you up to? What are you doing? Are you locked down? Locked out of work?
Not really. I've been working at home since March, whatever. I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's just, there's a slight feeling of kind of weirdness and sort of you don't see many people, but it's all absolutely fine.
I mean, you said you were living in or working in Soho, Margaret Street. Do you still work? Are you in the entertainment business? Because that's the entertainment centre.
No, I work for a tech company.
Okay.
No, absolutely nothing to complain about. We've been doing well. Everyone's been
brilliant.
Fine.
And what sort of work have you been getting?
I kind of do business operations. They used to say chief of staff, but we hate that now because it just sounds like everyone in the West Wing being political to each other. After a long time of working, I think I've figured out what I'm vaguely good at, and it's it's sort of it's orchestration of
people. I know what you say. The football man.
Yeah,
you don't play football, but you manage the team. You say what formation. You make sure the men are managed. People are managed, and you everything runs smoothly.
That's a really good way of putting it. Yeah, and I kind of like that. It's sort of like being a sort of people person, but also you're sort of slightly technical and enjoy the Excel spreadsheets of
enjoying Excel.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm sorry. That's like no one else has ever said that on this call, probably. So I'm so sorry. No, I'm sounding terribly boring now.
No, you're not at all. You're not at all. So what do you do? Do you live with your family? Do you live by yourself? Do you live with a significant other?
None of the above. I quite like being on my own. It's that thing of being very, very borderline introvert and extrovert. I really can't wait to go and see some friends, have a few drinks, but the end of it is like, that's it. I come home and I'm on my own, and I like that as well.
You like to chill by yourself. Absolutely get it. Totally get it. I do it too, except I'm married and I still have to find time to be by myself when I can. Have you noticed a perceptible change in your attitude towards this pandemic? Have you begun to kind of loosen up, or have you got much more sort of steely about what you have to do and how you're going to do it?
I think I've got possibly a bit lazier, just in the sense that everything has just become a blur from day to day. But you have usually like the alarm would go off at 5:45, and you get up and get out the door and drive to the train station and be in the office for 8:30. And then now it's like, well, I'll set the alarm for 7:30 and see what happens.
Right.
I think it's broken this whole stigma of working from home. I think this is going to be just with us forever.
I guess to a degree it will be, yes. And also the working from home will pretty much become an economic necessity for a lot of companies who just haven't got they have to sell that Oxford Street pad that they were in, or wherever they are. They've got to get rid of it. It's much cheaper to move out to Basingstoke with a 2 up, 2 down, and everybody working from home.
Yes.
So what do you do for fun? What do you do to relax and just wind down and be happy?
So the big thing for me is going out and seeing some big concerts, and that's like not going to happen for a while. But that was my thing. That was
really
big outdoor concerts or big sets and shows indoors, going on a tour with some friends or something like this, and just being sort of hit with that huge wall of sound from a really great.
Now, that's pretty wonderful. What's your favorite live experience in terms of concerts? Does anything stick out?
Jean-Michel Jarre, the French artist, he's done some of the biggest concerts in history.
Oh my goodness, yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, option 2, very good.
Yeah.
Right. But you're the ones, you should be singing in the next session. You should be singing.
Well, I could try and sing like a synth. really, really hard. Yeah, I remember Jean-Michel Jarre and Mike Oldfield coming out at the same time. Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells and Jean-Michel Jarre's seminal album that sort of pretty much put him on the map. Wow, that must have been really cool. It must have been a light show because he was famous for his lights.
It was just life-changing when you realise it's like, wow, this is something I really, really love. And it was 25 years ago in Paris, and it was the Eiffel Tower. Yeah. And it was Bastille Day, and there was this like giant heartbeat to start with, and there's countdown 9 down to 0. And by the time it got to 3, my friends were like, "Look behind you," And there was 1 million people. I'm not kidding, 1 million people, 1.3 million people behind me.
Oh my goodness.
And then it was the version of the red arrows were coming over the audience towards us. And as soon as the countdown hit 0, they flew over the Eiffel Tower, and then the whole thing just goes. So that's what I do to relax. It doesn't happen very often, so I'm kind of stressed all the time.
But what an experience! What a wonderful experience, especially with Jean-Michel Jarre's music. Just kind of like a kind of modern synth version of Vivaldi. You know,
Yeah.
If you think of that Vivaldi, that staccato, and all that stuff is very much in the Jean-Michel Jarre sort of area. If anyone doesn't know Jean-Michel Jarre, that I grew up with,
that's right.
One of our heroes is when I was a kid. You must have been under kid when I was listening to him. He must have been knee high to a grasshopper. But he was pretty much part of that. Yeah, there was a bunch of bands, Mike Oldfield, the Tubular Bells thing, which is very similar sort of world. And then there was the folk world of Clannad. And then as I got older, it became kind of Portishead.
Oh, cool.
It was all in that world. It was pretty wonderful music. But night and day from Jean-Michel Jarre. That's fantastic. Have you got thing you like, a go-to thing you love to eat or cook, or you something you dream of cooking?
I would say the last part of your statement is true. I dream of cooking, full stop. I'm terrible. I just like to run off like antimatter or something to avoid that. No one should ever taste my cooking. So
no one.
No, I should do it. Scrambled eggs I'm pretty good at, but the rest
nobody's terrible. But there's a cookbook by a lovely British person called Simon Hopkins. It's called Roast Chicken and Other Stories.
Okay.
And the beautiful thing about Simon's work is that he will tell a story of how he found the recipe, what it meant to the family, who he learned it from, teach you a little bit about the part of the country that it comes from. If you follow if you plan it and follow his recipes, and you will cook delicious food, and it'll change your mind about yourself.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Really good. I will have a look at that.
I wish you good luck, and I wish you,
Likewise.
all the best in getting back to one of those really big concerts with all the bells and whistles.
Thank you, Bob. Cheers. See you later.
Cheers.
Thanks, Colin. All right, we're going to go over to Emily now.
Hello.
Hi, Emily. Where are you?
Well, I'm from Maryland, but actually right now I'm in New York. I'm about halfway through my mandatory 2-week quarantine before I can head to college for the first time.
Oh, no. For the first time?
Yes.
You've never been?
I'm a
What a
rising
way to
freshman.
start. What a terrible way to start. Well, it could be great. I'm going to look on the bright side. It could be a wonderful way to start college. But you're definitely starting.
Yes, yeah, we're going ahead with it. They're doing a lot of testing, like twice a week. They're testing the whole student body. We're gonna try to go through with it. Hopefully, it'll all work out. I am planning to major in biology, so yeah, I'm gonna take classes in chemistry and bio, and so the lab will be in person for that. They're trying to get everyone on campus. I think we're one of the only schools that's doing that. We're in a fairly rural area, so it should be fairly easy to regulate the population and make sure everyone's staying safe. And of course, they're requiring everyone to wear masks and doing a ton of testing.
Well, I'm sure you're going to be fine. If it's really so important to them. So tell me, what state are you going to?
Yeah, I'm in New York, sort of upstate New York.
Oh, and that's the college as well. You're going to be upstate New York for that as well. Oh, brilliant! Did you, by the way, listen to we had a biochemist from Sweden last week? Did you catch her chat?
I don't think I was on last week. I've sort of been popping in and out, so I don't think I saw that. But yeah,
She was fascinating. She was researching all kind of medicine for the COVID thing. So, what field of, if you were to dream?
Well, I really like molecular biology. I loved learning about DNA when I was in high school. And so I think, the cell and molecular biology is sort of where I'm headed. But I love neurology. I did an internship actually last year at the Center for Neuroscience Research at a hospital. That was really, really cool. That taught me so much. And I love working in the lab. So I'm not pre-med or anything. I want to go into research.
You know about Richard Dawkins, of course. He wrote a book called The Selfish Gene. Definitely have a look at it. It's a really interesting look at how we tick on a cellular level, and how our genes are probably in control of us. They kind of insist on everything we do, and they inform our minds and form our imaginations and form our character. They're astonishing things, genes. He's a genius, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll definitely write that down because that sounds really interesting to me.
It really is, and it's not boring, and it's just enough for me as an idiot to understand some of the stuff he's talking about. But then he goes off and shows you some equations, things that make you go, okay, now we're back in science territory. We can't do this. Where are you living? Are you living alone?
Yeah, so right now I'm in an Airbnb doing my 2-week quarantine. But then once I get on campus, I will be living on campus in a dorm, in a
Right.
double. I'll have a roommate and everything.
It's just amazing, isn't it? And
Yeah.
Are you nervous about that, or are you like, this is great, I'm back, I'm not going to miss this?
Yeah, I am nervous. I'm glad that like a lot of my friends are just doing online school because their colleges are not going forward with it this semester. So I'm really, really glad I'm going to be on campus. But also just I have the general going away to college nervousness on top of the COVID nervousness. So
Of course. What? How did you find us?
I discovered this when people started talking about Alone Together. I saw posts about that, and so I was like, "Oh, that sounds so cool!" And then I started coming to these for that, and then stayed for the chat portions as well. And I just want to say, if Elmi is here, I loved Little Achievements. That was amazing. Thank you so much.
Have you managed to get in touch with any of the people in the room?
Not quite yet. I've sort of been lurking on the Discord. I haven't had deep conversations with anyone here yet, but it's really fun to watch the conversations happen as well.
So tell us a bit about your family. Tell us, because your mother must be pretty nervous right now.
Yeah, I'm an only child, so it's just me and my parents, and yeah, we're all staying sort of quarantining together right now. My mom is definitely very nervous, as you. Yeah, we've just been hanging out here. We can't really leave that much because we're supposed to stay.
You're meant to be quarantining.
These 2 weeks. We've been watching more Star Trek, as you do.
Did your parents introduce you to Star Trek?
Yes, yeah. My parents are both longtime Star Trek fans. They started watching when TNG was first airing, and they're big TNG fans. But I love DS9. That's my favorite.
Yeah, well, you've got taste. No, TNG is great. I actually got into Star Trek myself through TNG. Before I did Deep Space Nine, I was going down to a store called Blockbusters, picking up the videos, bringing them home, and watching like 3 at a time with a good friend of mine. It was awesome. My wife and I are trying to think what our next binge TV should be, because that's our kind of evening thing. It's difficult because she really likes reality TV, although she watches regular TV too. But her favorite thing is like some housewives from some city. So we have trouble finding things we can just sit and watch together lazily. We'll find something. We just watched the whole of something called Love on the Spectrum, which is kind of part reality TV and parts. And I'm not sure if it's controversial or not, but we really enjoyed it. Yeah. So if you have any suggestions for a really good TV show that a 50-year-old might like, bang, knock it out. I'd love to hear. West Wing. Don't watch West Wing again. So tell me, how do you feel emerging into a slightly different world? Into a world that is not like the world that people 40 and above emerged into. A lot more uncertainty, perhaps. How does that feel to you, this weird combination of real problems of very uncertain about what economically might happen to me, more so than most generations. And yet, gosh, the world is full of wonderful, colorful, interesting people.
Yeah, well, it's a very big question. I think definitely like every generation to some extent probably feels this, going away to college and then into the adult world, there's some amount of change happening. But for sure, this feels like a large societal change. A lot of things are going to change because of this, even after it's completely over, which might take years. So yeah, it is definitely a feeling of uncertainty, a little bit of overwhelmingness from the news. It's just like every day there's something else horrible happening, which can definitely like weigh you down a little bit. But I think there's also this sort of feeling of hope where we can hopefully all band together. And I think for people my age, there is this sense of sort of we might be able to change something with this. Definitely with like the Black Lives Matter movement, it felt like to some extent we were coming together for that. So I definitely feel like there is a sense of camaraderie that maybe is stronger now that we're all sort of in this together. So yeah.
when COVID came along in March or February, technically, I guess, that it was such an opportunity to unify because we had one common enemy. The whole world had one common enemy. But what mattered was we had to deal with this massive plague that was coming over the horizon, and we just failed. We failed to unify. We failed to empathize with each other, even at this crisis juncture. In your favor, I think all your generation are all they're cohesive. We're kids who are going to change the world, which is your kind of job. So we're going to hand that over to you if you don't mind.
It's a lot of pressure, but
I got to hold you personally responsible. I'm going to be tracking. We're going to be coming back to you at the social club every few weeks and say, have you changed the world yet?
It was so great talking to you.
Okay, we're going to go over to Harris, who is going to introduce a special.
Oh, yes. I'm looking forward to this.
Hi everyone.
Hi, Harris. Good to see you again.
Hi, you too. Okay, so following the success of the Cairo Time piece, Alex said to me, do you want to do something else? And I said, hell yes. So we've got a little Star Trek themes medley. We kind of picked which ones collaboratively. Alex found all the scores, which was amazing because that's the hardest bit, and I wrote
Wow.
And then we did the same thing where we recorded it separately and mixed them, and it was much harder because I was a bit ambitious with like tempo changes and things, but we did it. It has its imperfections, but I think that makes it.
I only like things with imperfections.
Yeah, I think that makes it better. We were talking about it earlier, and Alex said, I know it has imperfections, but it was a good exercise in letting go. That's it. Enjoy. Mel, please take it away.
Wow. That's really great. That's fantastic. Oh, people have to come off mic to talk to you guys about that. That's just too great.
Brava!
Well done.
Really good.
So good.
I love the transition.
Well done.
It's so much.
I'm just blown away.
Gorgeous.
Now the rest of it.
That was so good. Oh my god, the transition, my chest literally changed. I was like, oh, it changed. Amazing.
There was no imperfections. It was great.
Chronological by the series. I noticed it started at the early series in the Star Trek universe and then progressed.
You made the Enterprise theme song wonderful.
That's my favorite of all the theme songs.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Alex.
I thought it was just wonderful. You guys are wonderful. He made it sound like an orchestra. The arrangement was so terrific. It felt like there were several cellos and, bank of pianos. Really, really
I did
excellent.
cheat a bit and double track some of the cello, so there were.
Well, it was really, really worthwhile. It was just lovely. You're so talented. What's up with this place? Everybody's so talented. How long did it take you?
It took a while. I'm not very good at the passage of time.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. A while is all I need to know. It doesn't have to be like 6 hours. Just a while is good. It's no time is really quick, and a long time is really long, and a while is in the middle somewhere. It's terrific. How are you? How are you doing? What's going on in your world?
I'm all right. Yeah, sort of. We're going back to work in person in like the week after next, which is both exciting.
Yeah. Are you looking forward to it? Not looking forward to it? Obviously, just
a bit, but all the logistical things are like we're gonna get the bus like a grown up.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of terrifying now.
Are you in busy town?
Yeah, I'm in like the suburbs of London.
What part of it are you not really looking forward to? What part of it's like just the buses, I guess?
No, well, just like the whole like health anxiety.
Yeah. Do your bosses have the same anxiety?
They've sent us a lot of documents. I don't know.
Documents?
Like of how many meters to be away from your children and marking tape on the floor and...
Okay, so at least they're trying to do something right.
Yeah, and our annual inset day is going to be how to teach without singing at the child and like all that sort of...
Golly gosh. And so how many kids are coming?
Singing? How am I going to do that?
I know.
Impossible! They've been having some really good training for this one day.
How many kids are you going to have? You're going to have a full school?
I don't know, like between 1 and 30, depending on what I'm teaching, but yeah.
What do you teach exactly? I know it's in the music sphere, but what specifics?
So I teach a mix of things. I teach the cello, and I also teach like the sort of general classroom music lesson and musicianship classes and ensembles. That's
pretty great. So your school is pretty thorough about teaching music. I mean,
I teach at a Saturday's like specialist music school, and I'm a visiting peripatetic teacher in other schools as well. For one thing, but it's nice. Yeah, it's nice to have a lot of
different things. And your cello teaching is generally one-on-one, or do you do that as a bigger class?
Yeah, I did for many years. I did what used to be called like whole class instrumental. What used to be called wider opportunities, like whole class instrumental lessons. So I'd start like a whole class of 30 on violins and cellos.
Where do you find the violins and cellos for 30
they
people?
were provided by the music service I work for.
Okay.
That was great. I got really good at first year of whole class strings, and I kind of miss it.
Absolutely. My stepfather, back in the 80s and 90s, he started the Brit School.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he got together with EMI and Richard Branson, and they put together the Brit School, which became quite a pretty amazing school in the end.
Yeah.
That's just an aside, because so many cool people coming out of the Brit School these days. But everybody was really concerned about whether or not you could have a cool school that just dealt with entertainment, arts. A lot of people are starting school today or about to get involved. What have your school told you that gives you courage, encourages you, makes you go, okay, they've got it under control?
They're being very sensible with things like they used to have a really big cafe and like loads of home cooked food, and they're really reducing that so they can have everyone spaced.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot of talk about how everyone's going to be spaced around the school. And
if you got COVID, could you deal with it, or do you have any underlying problems that make you feel like, oh, it's not totally comfortable?
I don't know, because my health anxiety is so like, it's all terrible.
Okay. Well, I hope that it works out just fine, and obviously you're going to come back and let us know.
All right, nice chatting. I'll
thank you for the beautiful music, and thank everybody involved. please.
Yes. Thank you so much, Alex, if you're there. I don't
Alex, are you here? Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to Jesse. Hello, Jesse.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jesse. How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing
It's
today?
good to see you again. Very good indeed, thank you.
Welcome to my home office.
Very fancy. This is my home office.
It's very lovely. I do enjoy the dark tones on the door back there.
Oh yeah, it's a rental, but and we were lucky to find anything at all because everything rental that is potentially rental is usually gone. So we spent just over 6 months looking for a place to rent, and we just found one place.
I lived there until 1986. Then we moved out here to Kansas City suburbs.
That's big change, big difference.
It is. It was definitely a culture shock to begin with.
Yeah.
Midwest seems more my speed. Like I could do something like Chicago, but I don't think I could do anything like New York City or Los Angeles.
Absolutely no. I don't think I could either. I'm done with my whole stint at New York. Apart from the amount of money you need just to breathe the air in New York.
I mean, it's a beautiful place to visit. I went there in 2012, took my kids there for their birthday. We went and saw a couple Broadway plays, did some of the local stuff, but it was definitely, it really had that feeling of visiting a foreign country almost. of people were just, had a culture that was so rich yet so different from the everyday life of the rest of the country almost.
Well, that's a very generous way of putting it, because the rest of the country don't tend to see it that way. They don't see it like a rich, wonderful cultural life in the city. They go, those guys think they're elitists. They don't know we're born.
I love being able to see professionally produced Broadway plays for the first time in my life. And it was kind of scary seeing a couple of different famous people in the audience while we were there. There was James Lipton of Inside the Actors Studio, which was just fascinating seeing him, a few feet away. And Donald Trump was there.
You're a big sign.
They pulled him up on stage as part of the production. It was James Corden, one man, two governors. If I only had the foresight back then, but
Who'd have thunk, huh? Who'd have thunk? I guess at that time he was just a celebrity from The Apprentice or whatever the show he was.
Just somebody most New Yorkers hated. So,
so how is Kansas City doing?
We're in a red zone right now for coronavirus. I'm on the Kansas side of Kansas City. It's one of those things that a lot of people tend to get delightfully confused about.
It's delightfully confused.
Yeah, Kansas City's in Missouri. And when you think Kansas City, you should be thinking of the Missouri Kansas City by and large. There's a Kansas City, Kansas, but it came later in time.
And that's the one, the Missouri one's the one with the famous mayor, isn't it? Who's now became famous.
And currently we have Mayor Quentin Lucas. He just extended the city's mask order through, I believe, mid-January. There's definitely some spikes in this area. And our kids' schools over here on the Kansas side, where we had the option of remote learning versus in person, they've kind of slammed it down for the first quarter, and it's all remote. We're having some pains at the moment.
Of course you are. And are people relatively tolerant of the mandates of wearing masks and stuff?
Oh, so Kansas is a notoriously red state. For whatever reason, a pandemic has become a political issue, which I can't really fathom even why, but there is that divide of folks who are and I'm going to be kind again, rugged individualists believe that a mask mandate is unnecessary. And then there are those who believe that we need to protect all of us as a community that are happy to wear masks. Now, I'm an introvert. You probably wouldn't guess by the amount I'm just rambling on.
No, this is great.
I've been blessed to be able to work from home since March 12th. As an introvert, I don't often leave this little space you see right here.
Right.
The outside and I are strange bedfellows, so I don't have to put on a mask very often, but once a week or so, have to do the shopping for food for the family and whatnot. And I am absolutely happy to mask up. We put on rubber gloves for the different stores we go to as well that have food and whatnot, because you just don't want to contaminate anybody else if there's any possibility of that.
It's all about everybody else. That's what is unique about this thing. It tests you for your selflessness, not for your selfishness.
No, and it's there is a bit of selfishness involved as well, right? Because this virus does not have feelings. It does not choose, and it could come for you at any moment. So if you think to yourself, this could come for me, it could come for the person next to me, it could come for the house right next door. And it's just a matter of, we're all in this together. And whoever feels that, we need to sacrifice a few old people or...
That's a ridiculous notion. So that's all that compounding those various storylines, narratives, is causing a kind of acute problem because the media are not inherently untrustworthy.
Exactly. I mean, the media does have, unfortunately, corporate ownership that does have certain bits they want to push here and there. But by and large, the media is doing what it is there to do, and that's report. In fact, I would say the media does a lot less on the investigative side like they used to in the 60s, 70s, early 80s, when you would see these in-depth exposés of how their reporters went underground or undercover to get the real story behind things and put together big dossiers and connect all the dots. You just don't see that anymore. And I think if you did, there would probably be more skepticism now than there used to be, because of that fomented distrust of the media as a whole, which is a scary place for us to be, because we need those people who can professionally connect the dots where they're just not readily visible to the rest of us.
Of course, we can't go to Belarus, we can't go and see what's happening on the streets there. There's just no way, but they can, and they do. And I'm very grateful to all the media for some of the courage that they show in getting us stories in very difficult places under incredibly dangerous circumstances. Did you have any particular thing you wanted to talk about today when you came back on?
I am very thankful that you and Mel and everybody else who has contributed. I've been watching, probably not since the very beginning, but probably from May or thereabouts, and I've been exposed to some really great art, some really great political views, some really great just opinions from around the planet, and all these people are a wonderful community that have just filled this kind of bland office I've been sitting in for quite some time. And to connect, to everybody who loves talking Star Trek or not. My father passed away in 2010, and I've watched The Visitor once since then. And I was a mess, because that just is so powerful and probably the number one episode of DS9 in my mind ever. And when you were doing the Alone Together and Sirach came on the screen, I was just like, I don't know how I could behave, and I would have loved to ask him how bringing that emotion into that episode was for him as such a young man at the time, because the power in that, and it just rocks me as a guy who doesn't have a father figure anymore, and just the lessons of that episode. If I could go back now, treasure those moments, that would have been awesome.
Absolutely. Thanks, my friend, and come on back.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Man.
All right, we're going to go over to Rose, who has a special guest with her today.
Hi, Sid, and everyone else.
Good to see you again.
So I want to introduce my stepdad, Randy.
Pleasure to meet you, Randy.
Me too. Great pleasure.
And so we've been watching Deep Space Nine together. We're midway through season 3. This is his first time watching it, but he really likes Dr. Bashir, and he's had a really rough past few weeks. I wanted to give him the treat of being able to talk to you.
Well, I'm very happy to talk to you, Randy. Could you just repeat what your rough few weeks has been?
I had a pulmonary embolism. I was
Oh my goodness! Yeah, absolutely, a clot.
It was when they told me, but I was coming down the stairs and I started to feel like I was going to pass out, so I sat down, and then I woke up at the bottom of the stairs in a pool of blood, and I cracked my head open, and I had pulmonary embolism in both lungs and both legs. And
Are you feeling a little better? Are you feeling a little stronger now?
yeah, off and on. I mean, this is a bad day today. I had a rough night last night, but it's good here. Everybody's treating me with TLC, and I watched Deep Space Nine. That's my healing balm.
Fantastic. How long have you been stepdad?
Well, since you were 7, I think, Rose.
Which
right?
was 1997.
97, yeah.
That's pretty amazing. My stepdad is no longer with us, but he was with me since I was 7.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah. So I grew closer to my stepdad than I did to anybody else, and I really kind of owe a debt of gratitude to my stepfather. And because he was never actually a father, he never got that particular bond, that didn't develop. Because 7, you remember being 7, you were already pretty developed about who your family was and how it worked. For another person to come in and start to help you, my stepfather was particularly generous. I love the fact that you guys are together now.
We're it's like my daughter. I don't think of her as a stepdaughter.
He does have a daughter.
I did.
My stepsister Emily. She was the one who came up with the initial Watch Deep Space Nine recommendation. So I should give a shout out to her.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I've got a half brother who's called Tom, who's also my stepfather's actual son. So how was it growing up with how was it? How did you get to know each other? How did that relationship develop? Do you remember any turning points?
You should tell the story though of how you met Mom, because I think that's a great story.
I was going through a divorce, and both Rose and then my daughter Emily were in community theater. I went over to pick Emily up after a rehearsal. Rose's sister Grace was handing out little Valentine candies that say "hug me," wherever. And she came over to me. I was sitting by myself, and it said no. Sort of was a description of what I had gone through in my first marriage. Karen, who's now my wife, was kind of interested in me laughing about it, and I went over and basically told her about it, what had just transpired. And
that is very funny. What did you do? What did you do for a living? Are you retired? Are you on furlough?
I'm a retired Presbyterian minister.
Oh my goodness!
The liberal types.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's less and less choice. You've got to be if you want to communicate if you want a bigger flock, a bigger congregation.
My denomination is very open-minded.
Yeah.
We ordain gay ministers and we perform gay marriages. But at the time, it was a little rough going through it with some of the people in my congregation. As I just met Karen, and
this is when I was just figuring out that I was gay too. So that was
that's right.
Experience.
You're figuring out.
It touched my heart that both of you together. Something that I didn't expect. Such an unusual relationship dynamic between stepfather and daughter, and to hear that you're a minister and that you are gay is even more overwhelmingly delightful. It's it just gives hope to the whole world as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and he's never had a problem with it.
No.
He didn't have a problem with the fact that I'm not particularly religious.
Well, you'd know.
Love is what it's all about.
Absolutely. Do you remember a time, because I remember with my stepfather, he helped me enormously with reading. He sat down and read Arthur Conan Doyle to me every night from when I was 7 to when I wasn't at school, when I was at home. So I was at school 2/3 of the year, so I was a boarding school pupil from 7 to 18. When I was home, he would read to me.
We used to kind of fall asleep on the couch listening to my favorite rock group, Yes.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. That's exactly the right thing. That's the same thing as Arthur Conan Doyle. That's me being read to.
Emily, I read the entire Chronicles of Narnia to her, every book.
Oh, that's pretty lovely too. Yeah.
You became a librarian.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful. Because I like our English teacher read to us The Pilgrim's Progress, which is a really wonderful book. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it. It's so good. It's so good to read to kids.
Yeah.
Because it's very Christian, obviously. Kids would understand that as long as then you help them. Just allegorically, it's really wonderful.
I was going to say, it's allegory. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a tremendous piece of work.
Use as metaphor and allegory.
Yeah. And how are you dealing with this particular COVID situation, Rose?
Well, I found out finally what I'm teaching for this semester, and I get to stay here. So I'm going to Austin, which is nice because the co-op housing there with 20 other students. So it is exactly where you don't want to be during a pandemic.
Keeping her safe here.
so I get to stay here.
We're in Baltimore. We're having a good time, binge watching things. And
speaking of Baltimore, we just finished watching The Wire. It's like his fifth time or something watching it. It was my first time watching.
I'm an Omar.
It is one of the finest television shows I have ever seen. I mean, it's right up there.
Wow.
It's so deep and rich, and it really brings Baltimore out of
Yeah, it does.
There are a lot of places in there that we've been to that we recognize. There were definitely a lot of parts where we recognized places that we had been. So it's an accurate portrait of the city.
And where was your ministry, Randy?
Well, of several places. I started out in Wisconsin, in a little town called Marshfield, and ended up in Pennsylvania, Lancaster County, Detroit,
which is where
we
met
all
us.
met.
That's where I'm originally from.
The Detroit metro area, in the suburbs, cookie cutter area.
Did you see change over your ministry? How are we changing?
I think I saw people trying to figure out what life is and some of the deeper questions that we ask ourselves. I did a lot of grief counseling, probably the hardest part of my ministry. I hated it.
He says he likes funerals better than weddings because people can't complain about their own funerals. A lot of diva brides and mothers of the bride.
Yeah, there were too many Zolas and that kind of thing.
But I never heard of anyone complaining to the minister about a wedding.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, really, they did. Sometimes you're right.
What the heck could they possibly complain about? You just read liturgy and bless them.
You'd be surprised. I had a situation where the husband to be was just adamant about putting in certain words to obey me and to honor me and obey, but not for her. And I suggested to her, I'm sorry, but I'll marry you, but I'm a little worried about this. You might want to start thinking about getting out of this. And darn if it didn't happen the day of the wedding, she came in and said, I'm not marrying this guy. It's off.
Oh my gosh. Well, you might have helped. You may have actually given her a bullet to help her dodge a bullet there.
I think I saved her, yeah.
Well, listen, thank you both for coming. It's lovely to catch up with you both. Careful of those lungs.
Thank you for that. I appreciate your kindness.
All right, guys.
All right, our last guest today is Amy Lynn.
Hello! There you are, Amy Lynn.
Yeah,
Amy.
Here I are.
Whereabouts are you talking from?
Laramie, Wyoming.
Oh, brilliant.
I just want to say one thing. You are the most exuberant, wonderful, you're just wonderful, enthusiastic, and you listen a lot. So I really like that. I just wanted to say
That's very kind of you. It's hard not to be enthusiastic with this crowd. What we have here, 5 months coming up to 2 hours a week of many people talking about their lives and what matters to them, is a real archive of this time. It's the first person that I've met from Wyoming. Describe the state for us a little bit.
Politically, Laramie is not so red, so that's good for me and for my friends. We have a pretty good art community here. I haven't been able to participate much though because I have dementia. People are afraid of that.
Afraid that you're going to hurt yourself on their ground.
I don't know. I just don't think they know how to communicate with someone. I think they think that I won't be able to talk. I do have limited amounts of time I can talk, and that freaks them out. I think that they they don't know what to say or do. I had some very intense health issues, and the last really big one was I had a cardiac arrest.
Did you know you were having a cardiac arrest?
No, because I went in for an ear surgery, and I was on the table. I was out. So no, I didn't know, but I did have the out-of-body experience with the light and seeing myself, and the things that I have gathered from that are all this stuff about religion and science. It's all part of a big light, because when you're in the out-of-body thing, you're in this light. It's just, and it's a very nice, accepting light. It's beautiful. So what I figured out, for me at least, is that God, or whatever you want to call the creator, is also this big, huge ball of light, and all the stars are us. And then when we were made, I figure that we were made maybe by the ocean so that we would have the fluid in our body, and that each little grain of sand makes us, who we are. So that works spiritually. And then Bill Nye was saying, he says that we're made of stardust. So for me, it's like a big circle.
Bill's kind of right. Science would say that he's kind of right. I mean, there are a finite number of atoms in the universe.
Right.
So that's an odd thing to think, because you think of the universe as being infinite, but yet there according to the science, there must be a finite number of universe atoms.
Yeah.
Whatever happens to that grain of sand, what makes that grain of sand up, could end up being Lily in 20 years.
And the sand is from the stars, and we're from the stars, and it's it's that whole ashes to ashes thing. It's just it's a beautiful connective thing. It just reminded me, I'm not a scientist at all. I'm an artist, a writer, an artist and a writer, and I used to be much better singer than I am now. But I did all of these creative
You're
things.
An artist. You're a creative.
Yeah, I'm arts oriented. But I have really come to really appreciate the sciences and really understand, at least to my ability, maybe as far as I will probably ever understand, because dementia is degenerative. But I have come to understand that it's all really, really, really connected. And it's really...
I agree totally. I totally agree. You're in relatively early stages of dementia, you would say, would you?
Yes and no. I'm 59 in September, and I was diagnosed when I was 49. And with every head injury and also every respiratory infection that I get, it will get worse because I have vascular dementia, which means that the oxygen doesn't go to the brain. The blood vessels shut down.
Many of us will follow in your footsteps and get dementia. It's inevitable.
My mother has it too.
Really? Gosh, when did you first go? There's something odd going on here.
There was a day in 2009. Things just went terribly awry, and it's a long story, so I won't go into it. And I cried for hours and hours and hours. It took a long time, a lot of months after that. And I kept saying to them, no, I don't remember doing this. The same lady said, after a while, she said, I've been thinking about this, and you are actually having a lot of physical issues that are not psychological, and you need to get some specialists in, take care of you. I went to my nurse practitioner, and she said, let's do a brain MRI. They told me my brain had atrophied. And then I went to see a neurologist fairly quickly after that. And then they said, it's dementia.
How did it make you feel? I mean, because I know that it's not like getting cancer, which is like a couple, like some of our lovely club members here who are, on remission, battling it, whatever their stages of it. And this could be slow.
Having survived so many things, I know that when it goes, it's going to be okay, because it's when it goes. I just can't imagine that I will knowingly suffer so much more. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that it'll be okay. I'm more worried about my mother.
Had a taste of it. You've already had a cardiac arrest.
Had so many things happen to me in my lifetime that it's amazing, and the most fortunate thing that I'm even here. It's just, who knew? Go figure.
Well, I think you're incredibly generous for sharing this. I mean, I think it really is. It just is so helpful, because so many people just don't know and are scared, and they just need to know that you're fine and you're great and you're talking terrific. It doesn't stop. Everything doesn't stop.
It's every day is different. Sometimes it's different every moment to moment. My psychologist, who's wonderful, she always says, be gentle with yourself. Take time to just say, it's okay. This is how it is today, or this moment, or these hours, and I've always kind of done that anyway, but it's nice to be reminded.
Absolutely. Being kind to yourself is our main responsibilities on the planet. What happens, what do you do that makes you happy and like, I can't wait to get up today?
I love music. I joined a sticker club.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, where we swap stickers and then put them in books and stuff. And it's starting to make me want to do art again. Like I said, I was in the art community for quite some time. I had my own show once. I haven't done as much with the art.
Oh, wow.
It's a coloring book.
Oh, fantastic. That's very therapeutic. This is my plan. So I want you to remind yourself, and if you have if in case you forget, and I don't know to what degree you forget things, but I don't want you to forget this. So I want you to write it down so you remind yourself. Give us 5-minute look at whatever art you have around of yours, and I want to hear the story behind what you drawn or painted, and what it reminds you of, what it brings up in you, and it might make you paint a lot more. Will you do that? Will you come back either next? But I think you're wonderful.
Thank you.
Be kind to yourself, like you said.
Yeah, my friends call me Amy Doodles.
Amy Doodles it is. All right, sweetheart. It's been a joy meeting you, and thank you for sharing your stories, because it's just so important that people share information who are suffering from the thing itself, not just living off.
I've always been a good self-advocate, I think, and I think that it does help people somehow. I don't know how exactly, but it does.
It does. Have a lovely rest of the day.
You as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And that's a wrap. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Great weekend, everybody.